Ladies and gentlemen, the following is another marvelous episode of the Wrestling Fans Podcast, Ringside Society. I am your host, that ocean crossing, straight up bossing, flight catching, shot glass snatching, always positive, life is great, repping 592, living in the 718, no cap, straight facts, the worldwide star boy, Remy Blue. And our special guest is a young lady who is actually, and if you guys saw our Instagram post, she's definitely on fire because this past Wednesday, she had one of the most impressive, she was one of the people behind one of the most impressive wrestling events in all of Brooklyn. Matter of fact, not just all of Brooklyn, all of New York, period. She is also one of the members of one of the most trendsetting podcasts in professional wrestling. That's right. They're not just a podcast, they're a trendsetter. The Jobber Tears. Everybody, welcome to the show. Battle Club Pro co-owner Janelle Garcia.
Thank you so much for having me. It's different because I'm usually on the other side. So I'm sitting here like,
Yeah,
oh, this is such a nice introduction. I appreciate it. Because I don't introduce our guests actually on our show. I let them do it.
it's
But
it's a little
thank
it's
you.
a little thing that I do to set us apart, and I figured, hey, what the heck, I mean, there's
No,
many
it
other
makes the
podcasts
guests
out
feel
there.
special. So I'm here for it.
Yeah, that's another thing too. So yeah. So for those of you wondering, you're probably wondering, for those of you that have been watching us, you're probably wondering, Remy, what's going on? Where's Rob? Where's Kathy? Well, Kathy unfortunately has to work right now. Those bills aren't going to pay themselves. You all got to work. So Kathy's at work right now. And of course, my other partner, Rob Bass, the Wyclef in our group, he unfortunately could not be here. He had some personal matters to take care of. He will be back, but he's just taking a bit of I guess, a hiatus right now. And no, I did not fire him. I don't fire anybody. But yeah, he will be back, so just be patient. We know y'all miss him. But yeah, Kathy and Rob, hope y'all are doing great out there. So Janelle, how are you doing on this lovely Friday?
I am good. It's actually my day off. I feel like it's the only day that I have like to not do anything and be lazy because Thursdays is my other off day and we record. So I'm always going to record in the middle of the day, then come back home. But I'm good. As you mentioned, we're coming off of Women Crush Wednesday 2 on Wednesday. So thanks to everyone that came out on a Wednesday on 420 to come hang out with us. It was really dope to see everyone come out and support. And once again, thank you for everyone that's been along, our journey with the Jobber Tears podcast, with the viewing parties, and with Jobber Slam, and now Jobber Slam 2 coming. Excuse me. It's just been a really great ride that I think the three of us have always been like, this is more than us. This is, more for the community, more for everyone. So we're just really glad to be able to have the platform that we have and to know the people that we know, to be able to make a difference in the wrestling community. So that just honestly is, what we do.
Yeah, y'all are definitely doing great things. I was telling Mr. Black, and I was even telling Izzy, because we've had them as guests on our show as well. Um, not too long ago, actually, that y'all are just definitely inspirational, and I'm very happy for the success y'all have been having, because I remembered. I know y'all been doing this for a bit now, because I remember the first time I heard of y'all, uh, Sir Wilkins, he had a viewing party. This was like years ago. I'm talking like 2014. He had
Mm-hmm.
a viewing party for I think it was the pay-per-view before WrestleMania, and it was sold out. Like they weren't letting anybody else go into that venue.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh man, I gotta go back home and hurry and watch this thing now. And then I remember that it was WrestleMania 30 that he kept it for, and I was like, wow, okay, this is a great turnout. I remember he had the Kurt Angle single.
Yeah, we were
I couldn't
packed. I
remember his
remember
name.
that because that was when Taker lost. So I
Yeah,
remember that. And that was when we were at Mimo's, which was a really dope place that we had to, we've transitioned to different spots. So Mania 30, we were definitely at Mimo's. So this is pre-Legends
yeah.
of a viewing party, but it still was, it was a big space. It was a lot of people there. So, yeah, no, it was a good time.
Is Mimo still around? I remember Mimo's quite
They
fondly.
named it something else because it's inside of a hotel. So
Okay,
they just named it something else. I think it's
man,
like it could be a Mexican spot last time I was over there.
that place was lit, man. I enjoyed it. Spacious. The food was good and everything. I remember that. But yeah, man, yeah, like I always find it astounding how y'all actually, because y'all could have been like, you know what, we're just gonna watch the wrestling events and in the comfort of our own homes. We're just gonna have our own private little party. You come over, Mr. Black, Izzy come over, we'll just somebody order the pizza, somebody get the sodas and just make a party. But the fact that y'all actually provide a place where wrestling fans can come together and enjoy a pay-per-view and just, over some beer, chicken wings, whatever food and beverage of your choice. That says a lot. That's pretty much like, because not I'm gonna be honest, not a lot of podcasts do that. Not a lot of podcasts, like, and I'm sorry for those of y'all to get offended, but hey, it is what it is. You know, not a lot of people actually, like, podcasts actually do go that far to give back to the community, and that's very admirable as well.
No, thank
Yeah,
you. Yeah, no, that was, the foundation of that was really Sir Wilkins of the Jabateers podcast. He started almost well over 10 years ago doing that in New York. And, that's how, and Mr. Black is his brother. So that's obvious. And then, I met him at the very first viewing party he did. Um, so from there, we just became, the best, like that's my BFF. That's my ride or die. That's the, that's the Sean to my Hunter. So really whatever support that he had that he wanted to do, and we all kind of entered the podcast just doing it for fun. I mean, we still do it for fun, but we really didn't have any like goals or mindset of like reaching something for it until maybe after the first year of the podcast. We were like, okay, what is going to be the goal that we hit? What are we going to do? How are we going to do it? And I think that's really our way of giving back. It's just like, all right, whatever our goal is really to just help those around us. And we definitely have had plenty of other podcasts come up to us, tell us, we were the inspiration, but really we tell people all the time, you guys are what keeps us going. To be honest, it's never been like, let's get as big and let's make the most money. It's never been about that for us. It's always just been about having fun, giving wrestling fans of color a place to feel safe and feel wanted and feel like they belong. Because I mean, that's all of our stories growing up. It's like we had to use the closeted wrestling fan, wherever you were. So we just wanted to be able to have people have a space that they could be themselves and they can meet other people. I had, when we were at the show on Wednesday, there was another podcast, a group of guys that I met. They're out on Long Island. And they were like, we do our show weekly and we have this other podcast that we met at Jobber Slam and we always work together. That's always my ultimate goal is how do I connect everybody together so that they're able to make bigger projects and do other things. And so to hear that, I was more happy about that than anything. I was like, finally, you guys are using what we're doing to your advantage because that's what it's for.
yeah, we kind of so we kind of have been trying to ascend to that way too, for lack of a better term. Because when we first started, I was like, should I have people that run podcasts? Should I not? Should I have people? Should I? But I was like, you know what, man? Let me just have them on anyways. I listen to other podcasts too, and I'm pretty sure people that listen to us, they're still gonna rock with us, even though they
Yeah.
listen to like others and so on. And like even from out the gate when we started, we didn't have a forbidden door. It was just, you got a podcast? Hey, come on our show. Let's talk, and we'll shoot the breeze about wrestling and so on, which is always a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a dial it back a bit. I'm gonna take a trip back in the past, and I asked Mr.
Okay.
Black the same thing, and I asked Izzy the same thing. And I'm gonna ask Sir Wilkins and
Okay.
Dre. Big Dre. Hopefully, he doesn't beat me up whenever he sees me. That guy's man.
Uh-huh.
That
He's
guy.
he's the teddy bear of the group. Don't let the looks fool you.
I told Dre, I'm like, Dre, I would not want to. I would never want to fight a dude like you, man. Like I saw him at Women Crush Wednesday, and I was like, I would not look at my side, look at your size. I would not be a fool to mess with a man of your stature. Matter of fact, I'll be like, hey man, look man, just take whatever you want, man. Just don't kill me
He's
or
a
hurt me.
gentle giant. Shout out to Dre from Your Sports, a part of the Java Tears Network. He's a gentle giant. Like, don't he's actually I feel like he's probably the quietest out of all of us, low key too. But it's the quiet ones you gotta watch.
Yeah, I thought he
But
reminded me
he's
of
a
Keith
sweet
Lee for
boy.
some reason. I keep telling him that.
Everybody tells him that, and I tell him no, he does not. But tomato, tomato, But everybody tells him that now. It's like, come on.
Hey, that's better than the resemblance I got. Somebody once told me I look like Jordan Peele because I didn't have my beard on. Like I was in the
Oh,
military and I shaved, and somebody
but
told me I look like
Jordan Peele has a lot of money, so I would say that as a compliment.
I'm like I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult, but yeah,
No,
but
I think it was a compliment. I don't think that's an insult. But all
yeah,
right, this question, this forbidden
yeah.
question, what is
I
it?
digress. So like I always ask, so how did you become a fan of professional wrestling? What was the events or the pay-per-view that made you become a fan?
Oh, shout out to the Call Up Podcast.
What's up,
Um,
Kenny?
my wrestling journey started being a stubborn 7-year old who didn't want to go to sleep at 2:30 in the morning. So growing up, I always used to watch Showtime at the Apollo, which came on at 1 o'clock in the morning. If you're from New York, do you know that? So my grandmother and my mom, my grandmother, they always say, like, listen, when Apollo goes off, you going off. We shutting this down. Like you can stay up on a Saturday till 2 and you're good. So it's random night. I was like, I still want to watch TV, but I don't want nobody to know I'm up. So I had the TV mute after 2 o'clock. But I was flicking through the channels, just minding my business, still trying to like make sure the lights of the TV wasn't waking nobody up, like sneaky. And then
Yeah,
I came across, so in New York we have public access channels. So in New York, it was like channel like 30 or 32. It was like one of those random channels. So I came across ECW. And I looked and I said, what is going on? What is the drama? What is this? And every Saturday after that, I would just watch it. So it wasn't like a big pay per view. It was one random ass local show of probably an old ECW that I had caught. And then I am just going to just watch this and not tell anybody. So then it started with that, and then I kind of transitioned into WCW. So I would watch Nitro all the time. I would watch WCW Saturday Night all the time, because it was always, that was when Macho was there, Hogan, whatever, Lex Luger, whatever, Sting, those. So then I kind of got Ric Flair, the Four Horsemen. So like I literally was like glued to the TV because it was full of stories, it was full of drama, it was full of like larger than life characters. When they say that, like that's a legit thing growing up. When you see like like someone you would never see down the block, you're glued. You're like, who is this? And then that kind of transitioned into Attitude Era, WWF, WWE, where then I was watching Raw every week. Right, I would start off WCW, then that 9 o'clock hour hit, and then I would turn to WWF. And then it kind of took off from there. Like I've always been in love with wrestling. Wrestling found me. I always say that. I always was a fan. The first really big pay-per-view I ever went to was right after, it was Survivor Series 2002 at the Garden. And it was the first Elimination Chamber. So that's why Survivor Series is always a special place for me. And then finally this year, 30 years later, practically, I finally completed my Big Four tour. So I finally went to the last Big Four that I needed to go to, which was Rumble, which was so dope. So like wrestling's always just been a part of my life. It was hard kind of in college to keep up because you didn't have the channel, so I would only watch it when I go home for the holidays. And then kind of like when I finished up school was right when Wilkins started doing the viewing party. So I was like, bet I don't gotta order the pay-per-view. I could just go to the bar and watch it. And then, I started bringing friends with me. I was like, come, let's go. And then kind of the rest is history. Like we've been, down with the viewing party since then. We've been supporting each other since then. So yeah, wrestling just kind of like found its way into my life and then stayed. It was like, this is a good place to stay. So that's kind of been my journey.
Wow, that's impressive. That's awesome that you completed your big four. I got one more, and that's Royal Rumble. I did SummerSlam.
Go. Like, it
Yeah.
was by far, and it was so crazy because it was the big four that I was missing, and I kept missing it because I was either traveling for work or I didn't have the money to go, or like it was always something. And then the year that was that when the pandemic hit, that last Rumble, I think it was in Houston. And I was like, oh, my homegirl, Danny, shout out to Danielle for the Pretty Hills. She was like, well, she literally got off the Jericho cruise and went to the Rumble. She was like, come meet me, come meet me. And I was like, nah, sis, I don't want to move like that yet. You go have fun. So then this year I was like, I gotta go. Like, no matter what. So we lucked out that because that weekend it actually was a snowstorm here in New York. Um, so we lucked out flying out right before it hit, and then we flew back in after. So like it was saved by the bell. But it was the best. Listen, if you have not, I highly recommend the Royal Rumble because it's just fun counting down, seeing everybody's reaction, like recording your own reaction. Like it was probably one of the best times. Like I've been to Mania several times. So like this year's Mania was different and exciting, but it was nothing compared to my first Rumble, I will say.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely make it to a Royal Rumble very soon. It's gonna happen. And then once I do that, I'm like, okay, I've seen everything. Anything else is just because I want to go there. But
Right.
I've enjoyed going to each of those events as well. They've been pretty. Um, they've been and Kenny said the same thing too.
See, yeah, it's
That's the
always
only
that
one he's
one.
missing.
I
Kenny,
didn't understand for the longest. And I listen, and this Mania was my number 6. So it just didn't make any sense anymore why I was missing Rumble.
yeah, Kenny, we're gonna make that happen, bro. Trust me. If it comes
So
to Brooklyn or whatever,
I had heard that they may be doing Rumble in Seattle next year, and that I buy
Woo.
tickets today because I've always wanted to go to Seattle, and I love Rumble now, so I would go. So just keep the ears out. I think after SummerSlam is when they start pushing for Rumble because you already know where Mania is going to be next year. I think Survivor Series this year's in Boston.
Okay. Yeah, Mania in
So
LA. I don't know. I used to go to. I was stationed in California for like 13 months. So LA is. And no offense, to anybody who lives in Los Angeles. LA doesn't really. It's okay, but I'm more of a San Diego kind of guy, and probably more of a San Francisco kind of guy. But
oh, okay. I've never been. The furthest out west I've been is Vegas. So going to Hollywood and going to LA Mania should be interesting, I will say.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So my next question is, now that you're a fan and you're going to the viewing parties, the wrestling culture, those people that are viewing at home right now want to know how did Janelle from HR become co-owner of Battle Club Pro? That is an impressive feat.
I,
And,
thank you. I
and you
listen.
should have told me, hey, y'all be keeping stuff because Mr. Black's another. Mr. Black, he came on the show gonna tell me I'm trained to be a referee. I'm like, you could have told me this before. I would have had the Mr. Black your picture with the ringside Saudi logo saying, yeah. Now you're gonna come. Yeah,
The
I'm gonna
next
be a
show.
referee. I'm like, you could have
No,
told
and
me
let me
this.
tell you that him actually debuting on Wednesday was the hardest secret I had to keep from everybody because I wanted everybody to genuinely have that like moment of a reaction. Like, oh my God, I know the ref. Like I wanted that for everyone. So I didn't want to take that away by telling everybody, oh, Mr. Black's on a referee. But in terms of being co-owner, and shout outs, of course, to the man himself, Joaquin Morales. We've been, building up this relationship over the past few years. One of the things that I do always try to recommend to other podcasts too, and it's something that organically happened for us just because of our love for the business. We just started sponsoring shows and started sponsoring matches, and that's actually how we kind of build our relationship with promotions, like whether it was BCW, Battle Club Pro, um, whether it was us going down to the Carolinas and supporting the boys that we know that wrestle down there on the indie scene. So like we were really starting to be really big on sponsoring stuff and main event matches and things like that. Cause that's a very good way of marketing yourselves. Let me say that. But two, it just also was, we wanted to always support Battle Club Pro because it was definitely our home promotion. It was, seeing Joe King, through the years, putting on amazing shows, putting on, breakthrough talent. Like I literally remember before like Pete Dunne and all of them got signed, they did a show for Battle Club Pro right before they started their contract with NXT and WWE. So like he had a lot of like up and coming people that was coming through the game. So it was really good to see the growth. And then that big question, it was, well, now it's 2022, so I would say 2019 we definitely had that year of like, well, what do we want to do? And we do that every year. And I think every podcast or every any business or anything, you should have goals, you should have benchmarkers that you can hold yourself accountable for. So we all had, we all asked each other, well, what's the goal of yours? And honestly, I didn't know until after, but like my biggest goal was to do a wrestling show. It was never for, and it was more or less not for the glitz and glam. It was just like, I want to be able to give something not only back to the community, but also like to the people that I know that are workers. Like to be able to throw a predominantly all Black show in New York City during the summer, it meant a lot for all of us. Like it was our project, and certain people that were on the show we've known since they had been started training at wrestling schools here in New York. So it was really important for us to do that. So, we kind of joked about it at first. With Joaquin was like, yo, what if we did a show together? Like, how cool would that be? Like, it was like a ha-ha moment, but then it was like a, nah, so y'all want to do that? Let's do it. So you're like, okay, cool. Like, so then, unfortunately, the pandemic had kind of like paused everything. Originally, we were going to do Jobber Slam July 31st, 2020. And then the pandemic happened, and then it was like, well, we can't do anything. So we held off for a year, let the world kind of relax itself. And I really, everybody, that's the good thing when you have a group of people that you trust and you support. You know everybody's strengths and you know everybody's weaknesses. So like the things that the boys were doing for the show, they were doing. The things that I was doing for the show, I was doing for the show. We all pulled our part in terms of putting on a phenomenal show that, people still really talk about to this day. Like us talking about a second job or saying everybody was like, finally, we can plan around it. We got the date, like it was like one of those. So I would say a week before the show, started to get nervous, everything kind of was like low-key falling apart, but it wasn't falling apart. I'm just gonna say that. But a week before the show, Joaquin says, I want to talk to you about something, but after the show. So I was like, okay, you weirdo, like, I love you. Okay, cool, bye. Like, and I never thought anything of it. Said, okay, whatever. He'll talk to me after the show. Cool. Then the show comes, and we welcome everybody. We open the show, and I'm just excited because my mom, who's like my everything, she's never been to a wrestling show. My mom was never not a wrestling fan, none of that. Never been to a wrestling show. And my mom was front row for Jobber Sam. So that alone for me, I was just like, I'm good. Like, I don't need nothing else. So we're in the ring, we're thanking everybody for coming out. And then Mr. Morales grabs the mic and he says, remember, I told you I had something to talk to you about? And I was like, yeah, like, you said after the show. Like, I'm not thinking nothing of it. Then he asked me the question in the ring, and I didn't know. And all the boys looked at me like, bitch, did you know? And I was like, no, I have no idea what he's talking about. So he asked me to be a part of the ownership team at Battle Club Pro at Jobber Slam. So it was a really cool honor. Oh, really? Kenny, thank you for coming. That's really dope. So it threw me off because I was just like, me? Like, I never really thought about it. It never was, because when you're in wrestling, everybody automatically thinks you want a job at the E. You want to work for Vince. And like,
Right.
I never really had a desire for that. Like, I just said, because everybody growing up was like, this is what you love. You should, work with it. And I'm like, oh, it's a love of mine, but it's not, that wasn't my vision. And then I was never taking a bump in the ring. So training was never an option for me. But like just being supportive and putting people on was always my goal. And I think being now part owner of something so amazing, I have the opportunity to do that and more. So like he asked the question, it definitely was like I literally spent 2.5 months not telling anybody an answer because the next show, which was the anniversary show, was when I was going to give my answer. So literally for 2 months, everybody saw me and was like, "So what's your answer?" And I was just like, "Come to the show." Like I'm not, and it wasn't, believe it or not, it wasn't a quick yes. And actually for weeks I was like, I don't like, I don't want to, I don't think so. Like I want to continue just to support and sponsor and do that. But then something kind of clicked to me, and it was just like, you know we push this narrative of like, give, wrestlers of color not having opportunities, and it's not the narrative, it's the truth. We
Yeah.
talk about, women in wrestling not having the opportunities, because that's the truth. And I felt like as an Afro Latina, it was important for me to kind of be in that role of like, okay, let me be a part of how we structure moving forward. Like how do we take this and go to the next level? And how do we continue to give those that don't have opportunities? So like I can't always be that talk, and I think that sometimes is what we get wrapped up in is, we always talk a good game, but that action don't really follow all the time. So that's really what made me say yes. Was I was just like, listen, I can't keep talking about Black excellence. I can't keep talking about giving women's wrestling an opportunity. I can't keep talking about, all of the indie guys and girls that I know not being able to be put on. Like I can't have all this talk and not have anything to show for it. So it was important at that moment to take on that responsibility. And it hasn't been easy. I tell you that. Owning some shit ain't easy, y'all. But it definitely gives a sense of like direction in wrestling. It gives another sense of having a home. So seeing the opening of Fallout Shelter and seeing all the kids and them training, and then Mr. Black now training at Fallout, like seeing those things are is what keeps everything kind of going. So no, it's pretty dope. It's still, I get used to people saying, "Oh, owner," and all, because I'm just me. Like I even with the podcast, before, after, like I just present Janelle. Like I don't feel like I have to always be on, because I'm still a fan at the end of the day of the business. I'm still a girl from New York, still trying to, that 9 to 5. We all got a shoot job. So like I'm still me. I never want anybody to feel like they can't talk to me the same that they used to, or that they have to present themselves in a way. Like just be you. Like
But you want to know something else that you're also an inspiration because right now
that's
there's some
hard.
little girl of color that is saying, "Hey, I want to do it like Janelle from HR. I can't take a bump. I don't think I want to be a referee, but I want to do it like Janelle from HR. That Janelle from Jobber Tears." And
And
that's what I was.
that's like the dopest thing. Like, and I told the boys actually after the show on Wednesday, I said the dopest thing is to see parents bring their kids. Like my homegirl, one of my longest, like I've been friends with her well over 15 years. And she had brought her daughter because she doesn't live too far from where the show was. So she brought her daughter for the pre-show.
Hmm.
And to just see a little girl of color with her mom and her dad sitting front row watching a show, like that's the stuff I love. Like to be able to have those moments and those memories, and being an inspiration it's dope. I will never take that away. I always tell people, whether you're young, old, whatever, I'm always here to help. I've never been the type that it's about me, it's the me show. Like it's never going to be that with me. Like for me, it's always, how do I help you go to the next level? That's always going to be my thing. Because, once this is all said and done, and you have your life and you want to look back and be like, these are all the dope things that I did. And, we're really proud of Jobber Slam. We're going to be even prouder of the second one. Just because there's a lot of things that I wanted to do the first one that we weren't able to do. So there's one thing in particular that I want to do that I won't say, but what I will say is I do want to honor one of our dopest guests. That's from Brooklyn that's no longer with us. I want to figure out a way to honor him because, out of all the dope interviews we've had, and even during the pandemic, like we had some pretty cool guests during the pandemic, I will say. But he was one that no matter what, always kind of like put the battery in our backs and was like, whatever you guys do it to the fullest. Like live it and do it. And I want to be able to honor him this year because he deserves that.
Okay. You mind me asking? First off, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry to hear about that. If you don't
It
mind
was
me
a
asking.
community loss. It wasn't just us, it was a community loss. It was so I will say then. It was the recipient of this year's Warrior Award.
Oh,
Chad
okay.
Gaspar. We had interviewed
R.I.P.
maybe I would say 6 months before he had passed. Because he passed during the pandemic. So we had interviewed him late 2019 and we spent 2 hours talking to him about any and everything. Um we also had saw him at a wrestling convention. Well, me and Sir Wilkins, that was the last time we saw him, was at a wrestling convention. We had actually made sure we had shirts printed for him and JTG because the two of them together have always supported us and always was like, yo, what you guys are doing is dope and we want to be here and support. And actually, a fun fact, I guess not a fun fact, but they were the original main event of
Okay.
Jobber Slam, was going to be Crime Time. And then
Wow.
once again, his untimely, passing, it hit us all. It hit us all. That's what I said. It was a community loss. It wasn't just us. Um, so I want to be able this year, it being in Brooklyn, um, I want to be able to honor him in some way. So we're definitely going to figure that part out. It's to be it's to be celebrated. It's not to be so much like sad because that's not what he would want, and we want to be able to just do it right. So we're working on it. So, but yeah, it's a little sneak tidbit. But Jobbers Jam 2 is going to be so much fun. The theme is house party. So I'm gonna encourage everyone to come in their 80s, 90s. I think it'd be so dope for
Ooh,
a wrestling
okay.
show, summertime outside, DJ, and everybody kind of being in that vibe. That's who's doing that. You know what I mean? Like who's doing that? So I'm excited. The boys are excited. And especially coming off of Women Crush Wednesday too. Everybody's like, you when's the next one? So once again, Pretty Hills is going to be doing a wrestling convention during Juneteenth weekend here in New York. So make sure to hit them up for information, vendors, sponsorships, all of that. But Battle Club's going to be doing the
I'm gonna
wrestling part of it
I'm gonna
on
cut it.
Juneteenth.
I don't mean to cut you, but hey, yo, Danielle, if you watching this, hit your
She
boy up.
called me.
Trying to put you on. We got to talk about that, man. Like, stop. Hit your boy. You know where to find me. So
So
yeah.
I will let her know, but she's definitely like that's what I said. You got to know people's strengths and weaknesses, and it's not to say it's not a strength of hers, but we are very behind the scenes kind of women. Like we make a lot of moves and we do it, not for the glitz and glam. So, but I will
Well,
tell her she
well,
may
this
have to do an
brother,
appearance.
this brother wants to give his sister some shine and some props on
I
the
will let
show.
her know.
So yeah,
I'll
I'm
let
not
her know.
doing
She
a
had
cookout.
called
I'm
me
just doing a
right when we
turkey.
were started. I had to ignore her call. I was like, girl, I'm recording. I'll call you back. So I will let her know. But yeah, no. So yeah, her event you can see the weekend, and then as it was announced, Java Sam 2 will be Saturday, August 20th, in New York. And then also too, there will, like I mentioned yesterday on our show, there will be another announcement pertaining to that weekend. So it's not just going to be one show. I'm just gonna leave it at that. So we're
Okay.
really excited about it being, we're just excited about doing. what the business has given to us. We've been blessed to, interview tons of people. We've been blessed to get to know people like yourself. And that really was what it was about. It's about us coming together as a community and just having that safe space. So
And y'all have that way of like motive because y'all motivated me, believe it or not, when you had the Jobber Talk panel back in November. It was like day before Survivor Series. I went there, I met people that I had on the show that I didn't even recognize, like Nisho Soul and S Janelle. And I was like, man, I had y'all on the show because I got another segment called 15 Minutes of Phantom that we do for like the
oh
fans and so on. And I was like, wait, I had y'all on 15 Minutes of Phantom. Like Nisho had to remind me, like, Remy, it's me. I'm like, oh, Nisho, you had me on your show. But oh snap, what's going on? But not to digress, y'all actually motivated me to go to that following show, the We Are Wrestling show.
yeah,
And I
shout
was
out to
like,
Peter Rosado that does that.
yeah, I was like, yo, you know what? It's I don't really like going to Jersey for shows, but because y'all inspire me so much, I'm gonna take that bus to Ridgefield and check out that show. And it was very enjoyable as well. I met some
It's
other
dope.
people as well too. That's where I met Kofi Wheatston. That's where I met him at. And y'all had a lot of, and that's another thing. Y'all had a lot of all stars. Y'all had those wrestling girls. You had Jay Lee Photography, who's been on our show, who's actually the CCW photographers as well. I was like, y'all are just that was a great show, and I gotta say, um, keep up the great. I thoroughly enjoyed myself at that show this
No,
past
that's
November.
good. Yeah, he has another one coming up in May. And then also he has Jay Lethal doing a seminar. So yeah, Peter, who's a part of your sports as well, he started his own promotion, We Are Wrestling. So they're having their I believe it's their second show next month. So just stay tuned for that information and those matches that are coming up. But no, that panel, it's funny you mentioned that because as much as people say that we motivate and we inspire, I I got inspired to do that panel actually by those that did the panel to talk about the Black state of wrestling for Comic-Con. So Faye Jackson was on it. Our homegirl Kanisha was on it. Kaz Kazim was on it. And there was a few others. And that was the first time that, a panel about wrestling was done at Comic-Con, especially about people that look like us.
Yeah,
So sitting there and realizing, I said we need more of those because of the conversation. We need more of those so that everybody's voice kind of feels heard. And
right.
that's why it was important when I did the panel. I always want to be able to represent different parts of the business
Mhm.
because everybody's point of view, from the ring keeper to the ring, and like everybody's point of view about wrestling is going to be different. And it's going
Right.
to be unique. So that's why I made sure that I had a referee. I made sure that I had a promoter. I had made sure I had a promoter that works with the LGBTQ plus community. I
Yep.
made sure I had women of color on. I made sure I had journalists on. So I was very strategic on who to ask because I wanted everybody to hear that yes, we all love the same thing, but we all look at it and view it very differently. And that's okay. It's okay to be
Right.
different. It's okay to agree to disagree. But the other component about it was everybody on that panel was a person of color, and our struggles are all the same. And everybody's way of dealing with that struggle is different. And I wanted
Hmm.
everybody to understand that we're in this all together. So like when Nick
Yeah.
was talking about, him dealing with racism in the locker room as one of the only few Black referees that we have that are consistently shown on the indie scene. So like he's, him sharing that story, Billy sharing his journey and planning Paris is bumping and doing other things. Peter talking about We Are Wrestling. Patricia from those wrestling girls talking about it. Demon Diva talking about her journalistic, journey. And it was so funny. I actually bumped into her in Dallas. So I said, "What are you doing here?" She was like, "What are you doing here?" I said, "We all here for the same thing,
I
girl."
I really hope somebody hires that girl soon. I
Well,
really hope.
I know she does. She does work for Wrestling Inc.
Yeah,
And that was the reason why she was in Dallas actually. Um, and
I'm hoping
actually
like
the
somebody like an Impact or WB
It's
or
gonna happen. It's gonna happen because
someone of them just sign just snatch
you
her
need
up.
more women that are not only creative but love the business. You gotta have a love for this business to really be able to change the game. And that was something I realized after we did Jobber Slam. It was like, no, you gotta be in this game to be able to keep up with what's going on. And we gotta be in the forefront. So no, doing that panel, and I'm glad you came out, and I'm glad it was something that you received because that was the purpose. It was, yeah, we're gonna party, yeah, we're gonna have a good time, but I want to be able to give, like I said, I've always wanted to be able to give people the platform to be able to speak their truth and to speak their experience. And it was important for that panel to happen at that time because it was like we're all here together. There were people that were coming into town for Survivor Series. So it was like there's no other way, that I could do it. So
So
I
that's why I was gonna say. So that's why Black Wrestling was up there because I seen a
yeah,
couple of them
Matt
and
and Earl and them, yeah, they
I
had
seen
came
drip
up.
I seen Drip little self over there smile. I'm like, hey, bro. I ran up on him and said, hey, bro, I see you blocked me on Twitter. I see you blocked our podcast on Twitter. Let me tell you something. When you see Ill Fam, Cal, I told him that's I was like, when you see Ill Fam, Cal, and Matt H. Damon on our 15 minutes of fandom segment getting interviewed, I don't want to hear nothing about you saying, oh, Ringside Society's racist. They don't want me on my show because I'm white. Nah, it's because you blocked us, sucker. Get us off block so we could talk to you. And Davis, if
Listen,
you're listening, I said what I said.
he said what he
Let's
said.
talk.
You should have told me that before because we saw all of that. Well, we was all out in Dallas, so you should have told me that before. But no, and it was funny because, and that's why I'm saying the power of support is beyond. It's immeasurable at a certain point. They came up for that panel. They
Oh, they did?
wasn't planning on going to Survivor Series.
Okay.
They weren't planning on doing anything but that panel. So the boys came up. I think they might have went to the viewing party at Legends, but I think they either went to the bar or they had left that afternoon. But they only came to New York really for that panel and to support us. So like, like I said, the relationships we've been able to like really cultivate and really have, especially different parts of the country too,
Mm.
it's been phenomenal. And wrestling's been able to give me some of the closest friends that I have in my life.
So I'm gonna
Like
tell you, I was gonna tell you, that's how I met the call up. Kenny, if you're listening, Kenny, you remember how we met? I was on vacation. I just got back from Japan. I was stationed in Japan for like 3 years. Just got back, and I was actually just walking down downtown Brooklyn, Fulton Street Mall, and I saw this big guy with a Bullet Club shirt, and I was like, "Hey, what do you watch? Are you a wrestling fan?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, I'm like, "What do you watch?" Because some people are like, I watch WWE, but like to me, like if you just watch WWE, you're just scratching the surface. You're barely scratching the surface. So I'm like, "What do you watch?" He's like, "Everything." I'm like, "All right." So I said, "Yo," I shot him I showed him my Instagram. I'm like, "Yo, I run Ringside Society. Follow us on there. We have a thing called 15 Minutes of Fan where we interview fellow fans and podcasters, and we actually that's how we actually end up talking. And great guy. I'm very happy for his podcast too. It's very successful, and
absolutely. That's
that's how
really
he.
it's random stuff. Like
Yeah,
I mentioned back the when Pete Dunne and them did Battle Club, and
uh,
this was right before they had got signed. This was years ago. I was sitting kind of front row, even though I don't like sitting front row because I don't want nobody spit or sweat on me. But I was
right.
sitting kind of on the side, and then there was a girl and like another one of her friends. They were sitting kind of across from me. But we, at wrestling shows, you always talking shit. That's just what we all do. We talk shit. So I was talking shit, and she was responding to the shit I was talking to. So we exchanged Instagrams, and to me, and Angie knows this. So ended up getting to know her. My homegirl Angie, she actually flew in from Chicago for that show because she wanted to meet British Strong Style because she loves Pete Dunne. I don't know why, but she loved him. So, me and Angie had built our friendship from that show. to the point where in 2019 I had went. It's a funny story. This is how you know you love wrestling. I had flew to Chicago because Undertaker was doing a signing at some like big. They do a big sports convention in Chicago every year. So Angie, being the big Undertaker fan, like myself, of course, I said, girl, why don't we split the ticket? I'll fly in. I'll go to War Games because I've always wanted to go to War Games from a little girl. So I love Dusty, and I felt like it was right. I said I'll go to War Games. We'll go meet Taker, and then I'll fly back home because we were having the Survivor Series ring party. And the big four pay-per-views are always really busy at the bar. So unless like I'm really at somewhere, I'm typically at Legends. So I said I'm just gonna fly in and out. So flew in. We met Taker. Gave him a big old hug. Then we went to War Games, and I flew back the next day. So wrestling makes you do some crazy shit. But I say that in saying that, once again, if I didn't meet her at that Battle Club Pro show, we wouldn't be friends or how we are now. So that's why I said I'm always blessed that, wrestling has brought so many dope people into my life. But yeah, that's just a funny little story. But it was dope meeting him too, because it was just like, you're so larger than life. Hi, Mark. Like, and I never really get starstruck anymore, especially like kind of being in the business now. And it's
Right.
only like a handful of people, like wrestlers that I've met, that I was like, holy shit, like it's you. And it was, of course, Taker. When I met Sting, because a lot of people meet him and he doesn't have the full face paint or anything on most of the time, but I met him full gear and everything. So that was the little girl watching WCW that marked out. And then, of course, when I met Triple H, fucking just lost it. I didn't even know what to do with myself. I was like, oh my
So
God,
for
I love you.
me,
Even though your wife is standing next to us, I still love you. So
it was Marty Janetti. Yeah, I know it's crazy.
really,
I told him, I'm like, Marty, you and Shawn were like my first favorite tag team, man. Like you guys, I was like, and I'm like you, like I'm not in the business, but I learned like because my friend Chris Cartwright, who actually he's done behind the scenes work for several promotions in Florida. He told me, just be cool, just be chill, don't mark out too much, and you'll be fine. Shake hands, because I was backstage at one of the first indie shows I ever went to in Florida. He said, just shake everybody's hand, say good morning, say good afternoon, and just be easy. And that's a mannerism I've taken to this day. But there's some, like when I met Marty, I was like, dude, you and Shawn were like one of my favorite tag teams, man. And I was like, yo, I can't believe it. And he was the first person. This was at PWS, Rahway. No, it wasn't Rahway. I think it was Metuchen in New Jersey, and it was
mm-hmm.
2013 WrestleMania weekend that I met him. And then the other two was Buff Bagwell, who I recently met. I said, yo, man, you and Scotty Riggs, y'all, the American
Yo,
Male.
you really digging the WCW shit. Like that's hilarious.
And then there was Paul London. That was a funny one. I was going to FWE in Corona in Queens,
Okay.
and I actually I had actually bought the only I had that shirt several years before, but I'd bought the only London and Kendrick shirt because I was a huge London and Kendrick fan, and I
When I met
remember
Brian Kendrick, I fucking lost it too. I ain't gonna lie. I lost it. I was like, oh my God, I love you.
I went to the building. As I went in, I saw Paul London. He saw me, and I was walking towards him. He's like, oh, look, a fan, awesome. And he was like, we started talking. He was like, you mind if I sign your shirt? I'm like, yeah, sure, bro, it's your shirt, man. I'm not gonna refuse. And yeah, man, really cool person. Yeah, but that was the only 3 times I ever really marked out. Normally anybody else, I'm like,
Yeah,
you
everybody
know, I'm
I'm
like,
cool with. Like even Mania weekend that had just passed, we was in Dallas. And we had went to Wale Mania. And that's really where like all the black people go and hang out and chill and hang out and talk or whatever. And when I met AJ Francis, and I was like, so are you gonna rap or not? Like, what are we doing here? We're at the bar, mind you, getting a drink. And I was just like, so are you gonna rap? Like, what are we doing here? And he just starts spitting. Like he just started rapping out of nowhere. And I was like, I can appreciate you now. Cause you're the real shit. Go
Man,
ahead.
I don't know what it is with Vince. I'm gonna say it right now, but for some reason I get this vibe that when a black stable does so good outside of New Day, like Vince just wants to take them apart. He had the Hurt Business. It wasn't no shucking and jiving. It was just three brothers, four brothers coming together, taking care of business. Nah, he had to take them apart. You had Hit Row. Hit Row was groundbreaking. I mean,
Yeah.
rappers, but they weren't like rap. They weren't like going to go like they weren't like men on a mission. They weren't like you know I can't think of any other rap gimmick at this time, but they weren't like men on a mission. They were like
You okay?
rappers, but at the same time they were kind of
You
like
gave that face like
they were kind of like um they took care of business and they got rid of them. And I was like, man, what's going on with WB, man? Like, leave them people alone, man. Let them stay together and build up. I was so, I still think Brianna Brandy, Bianca Belair, and Naomi could have been a hot stable, right? I'm a down that hill. I think so.
okay.
I think so. I'm just
Okay.
saying,
You know
that
what?
could have
I'm gonna
been.
ask her on Sunday because we actually are
Bianca.
interviewing her on
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I
Sunday.
saw that. That's awesome.
So I'm actually gonna ask her that because I mean, I don't. It's hard because I don't know how to put it, but like I think certain things that work on NXT doesn't always translate on the main roster, unfortunately. And I think one of those things was Hit Row. I mean, we popped because we were invested because we were
Yeah.
like, they're black, they're talented, in the ring, out the ring, we're here for it. But one thing you do have to like kind of like just be aware of is like everybody ain't us. We still are kind of the minority. I went to Dallas just to meet Austin. That's hilarious. I actually Austin. I don't mean to veer, but when he said Austin, WrestleMania was it 33 in New Orleans or 34? One of them. I lose numbers after a while. I just know the city I went to. But New Orleans, when we had went to there's like a big convention too that weekend, WrestleCon. We meet different wrestlers and it's meet and greets and all type of stuff. So I literally went to Supercard the night before. I actually didn't go to NXT. I literally flew in. My homeboy picked me up from the airport. I changed into my American Nightmare t-shirt and went to Supercard because it was ROH's show. And I was like, and it was free tickets. So I was like, I ain't got to pay for it. I'm there. And then the next day, um, I wanted to meet Kenny Omega.
Okay.
So, but the night before, we were all drinking very heavily on Bourbon Street. So my homeboy calls me and he's like, yo, get up. I was like, why? Like, I want to sleep. I don't feel like it. He's like, we gotta go meet Kenny. I said, shit, you're right. We stood alive for 2 hours to meet Kenny Omega, which was dope. Because he's super dope, actually, a person. And as we're leaving, because I didn't want to meet nobody else, I said, Kenny's in, and that's it. As I'm leaving the convention floor, I'm waiting by. I said I didn't want to take the stairs because I was being lazy. So I said, let me wait for the elevator. Wait for the elevator. Who comes off the elevator right in front of me? No other than Stone Cold Steve Austin. So I said, oh shit, it's Austin. So my homeboy that was with me was recording me. Didn't have a clue until after the fact. So he has a really funny video of me like losing it in front of the elevator with Austin because he was doing the meet and greet in New Orleans. So it's just so when he mentioned Austin, I was like, oh man, that time I bumped into Austin on the elevator. Whew,
Yeah.
those are the good times. But yeah, in terms of stables, like yeah, they don't always translate, and it's always the same. And I think that's where, as fans, we get always wrapped up in is like they took it away from us. It doesn't mean that they won't give it back. It doesn't mean that down the road you never know what could happen. Now that MVPs with Omos, who's to say they won't bring the Hurt Business back together with all of them? going against Bobby because Bobby's gonna be a face now. Like those are all the things like creatively like we're not privy to. So I don't, I think before I was always like, fuck, we don't get chances, we don't get nothing. And then honestly, seeing Bianca and Sasha main event in person, I said, you know what? There's a reason for everything. And not everything has to happen when I want it to happen. So
Yeah.
if it meant waiting 32 years for this main event, shit, it was well worth the wait.
Yeah, that was I was really happy to see that. Actually, to me, so that year, 20, which was last year, Bianca had two moments that I actually remembered. The first one was, well, that was the one that I know is the one that everybody saw, which is Bianca and Sasha main eventing WrestleMania. But another moment that I remember that she had that I watched that particularly was the Royal Rumble of that year. I don't know if you caught it, but it was Naomi and Bianca. They were actually almost about to get eliminated. They were
They
hanging
was
by a
helping
rope.
each other.
And when I saw that as something poetic because I was like, here you have two queens, two sisters fighting against each other, and then they figured out that, hey, if we work together, we can get back into it. And they did just that. And I was like, wow. I don't know if I'm the only one that caught that,
No, you're
but
not.
I
They
saw that and I was like,
literally,
wow.
and that's why, like, as fans, sometimes you just kind of gotta let shit play out. Because as much as everybody was in their panties in a bunch about Bianca losing to Becky in 2.5 seconds, they literally gave her the buildup of a lifetime. I've never, like, it has been a very long time. And to be honest, she's probably the first Black woman really to have that type of push. Like, even she had a better push than Sasha Banks did. Because what Bianca accomplished in that year, in 2021, no other female has been able to do.
True. True.
She's on a list of like with 6 other men, and she's the only female. She's the only person to be able to win the Rumble, main event WrestleMania, be the sole survivor at Survivor Series, and win the Elimination Chamber in Saudi Arabia.
Oh yeah.
No one's been able to do half of what she's been able to do in a year. So everybody, focused on that loss. That loss was really the catalyst for the ultimate win. And it came full circle at WrestleMania this year. So like that's why it's so important as fans. Like, just let some shit play out. Like we could be upset in that moment. Like, listen, it took years for me to forgive Brock for beating the streak. Not gonna lie. Very upset. But eventually it was like, listen, shit has to happen. It was like
Mhm.
ripping a band-aid off. Okay. We just gotta let it heal a little bit. And that's it. But as fans, I think we want what we want. And then when we don't get it, we become stubborn. We say we don't like the product. We say Raw stupid. We give all these negatives instead of really just enjoying the product. Like, that's been something for me. Like, I stress myself to do is when I watch Raw or SmackDown or anything wrestling, I'm just a fan. I don't try to comment on it as a podcaster. I don't try to look at it as a co-owner. I look at it as a fan because it's what I enjoy. I
Yeah.
don't want to always be on, like everybody expects you to always be on and have a comment. And it's just like, I just want to enjoy this for what it is.
And I believe it was y'all that actually constructed that saying, that actually coined, sorry, that saying, wrestling is meant to be enjoyed, not deconstructed. Or
Yeah, not all the time. Like, if you're spending every waking moment deconstructing your favorite TV show, then it's not your favorite show. It's your favorite show to pull apart.
yeah,
Like, you should be able to enjoy without criticizing, without it being like I can literally, as much as everybody complains about Raw, and granted, 3 hours is it's a bit much, but I could genuinely sit there and enjoy it because it's like it's entertainment. Like, I'm not my expectations is not like on 1,000. It's let me for what it's worth. Let me enjoy this Raw. And if next week is better, great. If next week's the same, great. But I always try to have that balance, and I think that's important, especially being a podcaster and things like that. Like you got to be able to balance it and be able to still enjoy the product. Like you said, like if you only watching WWE, you're only scratching the surface. So like, granted, you have all these other promotions. You have AEW, you have New Japan, you have MLW, you have Impact, you have Lucha coming back. Like you have the indie stuff. You can watch YouTube. Like it's so much wrestling.
Yeah,
Why are we gonna complain about anything?
exactly. And another thing I always tell people is you shouldn't be wishing a company goes out. So I saw a lot of ignorance. Like when AEW came up, people were like, "Oh, now I have a choice." So what was Impact? I asked them, "What was Impact? What was Ring of Honor? What was New Japan? What was OVW and all the other promotions that were constantly on YouTube and Fight TV and IWTV and et cetera, et cetera? What were those?" Yeah, but
Right.
no, those were choices. You just chose not to acknowledge them. You just chose to glance on by. If you're gonna say now you have a choice for um now you have another wrestling promotion with a big production team to look at, go ahead and say that. But don't say you never had a choice. You always had a choice.
Always have a choice in anything in life. You always have a choice, and and like I even say on our show, like there's certain things about every promotion that is not really for us. It's not meant for us,
Yeah,
and that's okay.
yeah, yeah. So I just gotta say, Janelle, um, it's once again, I'm very happy for your success.
Thank
I
you.
wish you nothing more than success. Ringside Society eventually will be sponsoring um, a jobber talk slash Battle Club Pro event or match real soon. Best believe that. Look out for that.
We
And
appreciate that. Listen, like I said, anytime you need anything, you let us know. Like
so
for
here's the
like,
thing. Here's what I need from y'all. So since you've been on my show, since you're the co-owner, I'm gonna have Joe K. Joe K, if you're watching, don't go too far, homie, because I'm gonna come after you too, because we gotta talk about that great show you had. So
go
don't go
get
too far.
him.
Don't hurt me now, but I'm just saying we gonna talk.
He's another one. See, listen,
But
don't let these don't these gentle giants fool you.
hey,
He another one.
hey, I'm a Guyanese that has that's a Brooklynite at heart. Trust me. If I see a big dude, I ain't starting no smoke. Unless of course he got a barbecue and he offered me a plate, then yeah, I'm gonna take, that smoke. But yeah. But what I do want is whenever you guys have a show, just send us a flyer. We'll promote it on our Instagram, our Twitter.
Absolutely, we appreciate
Because
that. Yeah, no, we
what we
got
do,
you guys.
what we do now is, so one of the goals you want to be is we want to be that source, one of those sources, not that, one of those sources where, oh, I'm in Montgomery, Alabama. What show is there on today? Let's see your ringside study. Oh, snap, that show's on it today. Awesome, I'm gonna check it out. Oh wait, I'm in Texas. What show? Oh, Mission Pro got a show. Oh snap, thank you, Ring. So that's exactly what I want to be. I want us to be that source, one of
Oh
those sources
yeah, no,
to
that's
go
dope.
to.
Cause that's important. Cause let me tell you real quick. Me and Danny, was this last summer? Me and Danny, we was having this is probably really right before Jabba Sam. So like I was all over the place and we needed a day to just get away. So we just like, yo, fuck it. We'll drive to Atlantic City. So we drove to Atlantic City. We was like, we're just gonna stay here for the day and go back home. Nothing crazy. And then we get trashed on the boardwalk. We had a beach bar drinking, having a good time. Kiki. And they were like, all right, we're hungry. Let's go get something to eat. So we get something to eat. And they were like, okay, what do we do next? Are we going to go home? What are we going to do? I literally came across, as we were sitting in Atlantic City, a GCW show
Okay.
happening an hour before. And we were like, oh shit, there's a wrestling show here tonight? They were having a whole weekend of stuff. And we had no clue. So we literally stumbled upon. That's why I said wrestling follows me everywhere. It's ridiculous at that point. But to your point of if you were the go-to source, then we would have known that before we left New York.
Yeah.
So
And
no, we
that's
would
why I said,
definitely be able to help you out with that.
yeah, whenever you guys have a show, because we do it for several others, like Mission Pro and CCW and several others, just to not to clout chase, but just to like let the fans know, hey,
Let these people know. Listen, it's okay to toot your own horn sometimes. I listen. I know how that feels. I don't like doing it too, but sometimes it's okay to toot.
yeah, I'm normally a humble person. I don't, I'm like, I just want to let the fans, our fellow fans know, hey, this is in your area. Check it out. Such and such is on that card. Check it out. Support indie wrestling. That's where 90% of your superstars in AEW know we go as well. So yeah, just do that for us and we'll promote it and whatnot.
Absolutely, we will.
I was very impressed by how Battle Club was. I'm kicking myself that I missed Jobber Tears, but unfortunately, military duty calls, and I was in Jacksonville, North Carolina at the time, so I couldn't really
Oh,
get
it's
there.
okay.
But
It's
yeah.
okay. You here now, and that's what matters. Like we
Oh
can
yeah.
always talk about what happened before, but you here now, and that's what matters. So it's
Oh
okay.
yeah. Definitely. So Janai, I gotta say, thank you very much for being for actually taking time out of your. I'm not gonna hold you. 'Cause I know you're a busy woman. You got a lot of things to do, and
Listen, I'm about to go watch SmackDown. That is actually the
well
only
that
thing.
well that too. I'm not gonna. I don't want to
I
hold
was
you up
sitting here
again.
like I didn't realize the time, but I was just like, I was almost in class. Oh, SmackDown time. We
Yeah, yeah.
gotta.
We gotta acknowledge the tribal chief. So yeah, it's about
I don't
that
know about all
time.
that
But
though. I'm not doing that.
not
I'm
Roman.
not doing that. But I will enjoy SmackDown though.
Yeah, but yeah, I gotta say, it was great having you on. It was an honor having you on, and Wilkins and Dre, y'all are next up.
Then next,
Coming for
I'll make
y'all
sure they
too.
do it. But no, thank
So
you so much for once again reaching out to us, and us being a part of your show. You definitely anything that you are doing, let us know. We're here to help as well. So don't
yeah,
feel like you by yourself. So I will make sure the boys lock in dates for you too.
yeah. So, but before I shut this down, where can fans find you on social media when they want to find out when the next Battle Club show is, when they want to purchase
Sure.
Jobber tiers or Battle Club Pro merchandise, all
Yeah,
that good
no.
stuff.
For Battle Club Pro, you can follow us on social media, so Instagram and on Twitter, at Battle Club Pro. You can also you mentioned merch. Shout out to Red. He handles the merch, so you can definitely always DM the Battle Club Pro Instagram page and get that information. Also too, you can follow Fallout Shelter, which is the training school under Battle Club Pro, which is led by some dope coaches, including Masha, Steve Pena, Mike Law. They're a dope combo. Santi, all the kid, everybody there is super dope. It's super exciting. So if you're looking for a wrestling school in the tri-state area, well, New York specifically, Fallout Shelter is definitely available. So you can always hit them up for that. You can always hit up me personally or Joaquin Morales for Battle for Pro stuff. But for Jobber Tears Podcast, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at the Jobber Tears Podcast. Also follow us on subscribe to our YouTube page. Where not only it's us, we also have your sports. We have previous episodes
Yeah.
of Two and a Half Bros, previous episodes of Sassone Talk. So we definitely were able to cultivate like having a big group of friends just gave us the opportunity for everybody to be put on. So that's really cool that we were able to do that. So once again, you can subscribe to our YouTube page. You got Mr. Black's Neighborhood. He does that from time to time, and stuff like that. And then Coffee Talk with Sir Wilkins. He does that from time to time. And also he does the Spotify Unsanctioned. So you can follow that on Spotify. But other than that, yeah, we're here. You can come to Legends. We'll be at Legends for WrestleMania Backlash, which is I believe May 8th. It's that Sunday, which is also Mother's Day. So come bring your mama, come watch some wrestling. And then we'll be back again for Double or Nothing at the end of the month. So, but thank you for having me. This was super fun. Like I said, I don't get to do this often. I'm always the one asking the questions. So it's
Okay.
super cool to be on the other side. So I appreciate it. And nothing but the best for you as well. Nothing but success for you as well.
Yeah, right back at you. So with that being said, it's about time for us to shut this show down. If y'all want to follow me on social media, not that I'm that interesting, but who knows, maybe you'll hear me say something cool. You can find me on Twitter at the Remy Blue. You can also find me on Facebook as Remy Blue and also on Instagram as at the Remy Blue. I'm also on there as well. Our podcast is on Twitter and Instagram at Ringside Society. We're on Spotify, we're on Blog Talk, we're on Twitch at Ringside Society 2019. We also have a wrestling group called Ringside Society, and we also have I know I'm missing. Oh, we also have a YouTube channel, which is where we have a lot of great episodes like this one, the one we did with Sir Black, I mean Mr. Black, the one that we did with Izzy, and many other great people as well. So make sure you go on YouTube, type in Ringside Society. Once you see that sweet OMG dark blue and light blue yin yang sign with the blue flames around it, that's when you know it's us. So subscribe to all our videos because you don't want to miss a thing like Aerosmith in 1998. But with that being
Okay. That's my karaoke song.
with that being said, I just want to thank everybody that tuned in tonight live. Thank you very much, Kenny, aka the call up. Really great seeing you here. Amanda, thank you as well. Um, you know, thank you very much for actually tuning in. We really appreciate, we try our best to bring you some of the best wrestling content, interviews, to our fellow wrestling fans and whatnot. And we also try to shine the spotlight on those that are doing great things in the community, just like we just did right here with Janelle. And to those y'all that are going to listen later on, thank you very much in advance. And those y'all that hate us, can't stand us, really and truly wish we'd go away, well, like myself at the Golden Corral, we're not going anywhere for a while. Sorry, it's not happening. But with that being said, I just want to let y'all know that, myself, Kathy, and Rob, we are very well with everybody and their grandparents and the parents of a podcast. But we're not your grandparents' podcast. We're not your parents' podcast. As a matter of fact, we're not just any podcast. So I'm going to say this one time for the mind, one time for the people, one time for the wrestling culture, and one time for the ever so incredible Girl on Fire, co-owner of Battle Club Pro and member of one of the most impressive wrestling podcasts you can listen to, the Jobber Tears podcast, Janelle from HR. We're the Wrestling Fans Podcast, Ringside Society. And with that being said, we will be back this Sunday with another impressive guest for another impressive episode. But until then, I just want y'all to do four things for me. Just four things. Stay safe, stay healthy, be excellent to each other, and party on, dudes. We out. Peace.